Joining me now is Judge Janet Protasiewicz, candidate for the Wisconsin Supreme Court. Judge Protasiewicz, thank you very much for coming to the Saturday show. Why should the nation pay attention to the Wisconsin Supreme Court election?
Well, the stakes are huge, not just the issues that are going to be coming before the Wisconsin Supreme Court in the next year or two, but everything is on the table. You know, fairness, equality, change. We've had a very hyper-partisan Supreme Court in the state of Wisconsin, a lot of extremism, and we are working very, very hard to pivot back to normal, to change, to common sense, and actually evaluating the issues and the cases without a finger on the scale, looking at the law and upholding the Constitution.
Mm-hmm. You know, I know you'd never tell us how you'd rule on any particular case, but why should you prevail on April 4th and not your conservative opponent, Daniel Kelly, who's a former state Supreme Court justice?
Well, I've been very careful, and I appreciate the way you structured that question. I've been very, very careful to share with people what my values are, but to also indicate that my values do not have control over how I would rule or vote in any case. When I talk about my values, one of my values is that a woman should have a right to choose in regard to her reproductive health care decisions. Certainly talk to your family, talk to your doctor, talk to your faith community, but the bottom line is that decision should be yours. I anticipate that that issue is going to come before our Wisconsin Supreme Court. And I just indicated earlier, you know, obviously I'm not, foreshadowing a way in which I would be voting, but, that is a question that will be coming before us. Voting rights are huge. Wisconsin is, as you probably know, one of the most gerrymandered states in the country. And what that means is that our representative democracy, quite frankly, is on the line. Wisconsin is really traditionally and still is a battleground state with the statewide elections that we have. Nonetheless, we have an extremely gerrymandered state where such a high percentage of the seats in both our state assembly and state Senate don't reflect the makeup of the people of this state. Mm-hmm. I think anybody looking at, our maps from the outside can tell that, clearly something's wrong.
Sticking with your opponent, former Justice Kelly, should the fact that Kelly is a Trump ally with ties to a fake elector scheme disqualify him from election to the 10-year term?
Well, I think people need to look long and hard at that. He was endorsed by former President Trump in his last election. He was involved, obviously, as you indicated, with that scheme. More than that, he's been touring the state of Wisconsin on what the Republicans call an election integrity tour. I put that in air quotes, election integrity tour, really trying to peddle the big lie that the 2020 election was stolen. And I think we all know that President Biden was fairly elected in 2020. So Dan Kelly has a number of really, really extreme issues, and I'm very curious to see what the voters are going to say about that. I can tell you that where we are going across the state, and today I'm in Madison, I left Milwaukee for Madison, we'll be going to, for people not familiar with the state of Wisconsin, we'll be going to, Hudson and Superior, driving all over the northern reaches of our state. Everywhere we go, the turnout that we get from people around the state wanting to talk about this election, wanting to share how concerned they are about the state of Wisconsin going forward, how important this race is to them. We're at events where people are lining up outside the doors. It's hard for us to even really be able to accommodate the people that are turning out. So it tells me that people are certainly extraordinarily concerned about what they perceive as extremism on our court.
Judge, this is very unusual. I don't think I've ever interviewed a judge running for election to a state Supreme Court. And it's nonpartisan. But when you're out on I'm just curious, how do you campaign?
Well, we campaign all over all the time. And so if you're asking how we physically campaign, I'm working full.
No, I know you. I know you're out driving all around the state, but
right.
You're talking about tons of people coming to your events, and I'm just curious.
Correct.
How are they talking to you about these issues? Are they talking to you about these issues from a partisan perspective or a values perspective, I guess is my question.
Yeah, thank you. Really, from a values perspective, I have people coming up to me like in tears saying, we are praying that you win this race. We are praying that we get control of our Supreme Court back. And not just control about the issues. You know, I think the perception is that our Supreme Court is so extreme that it's not fair, that decisions are being made before the litigants even get into the courtroom. And, you know, I was at an event in a small town where a 90-year-old woman came in a snowstorm. And she said to me, Judge, I shouldn't be here today. If I slip outside and break my hip, you know, things will all go downhill for me. I am here today because I support you so much, because I love our state so much, because I've lived here my entire life, and I am so scared of what's going to happen if one of those extremists wins this election in April. So, you know, the outpouring from people across the state is utterly incredible.
So, Judge, real fast, how can people find you? What's your web address?
Take a look at janetforjustice.com.